Hi everyone, my name is Aryan and I'm going to talk about the global economy, some of the challenges that are facing currently in the globe, in the economic system, and universal basic income as a probable solution to maybe address some of the challenges. And obviously, we'll also talk about the practical aspects of implementing UPI in a country like India or even some of the first world countries like the US, and what it will basically mean for the economic system. Before starting with my talk, I'd like to thank the FAIR project team. This has been an amazing learning experience. The traditional ways in which I used to approach the social problems that are out there, they have been completely transformed. And with each event that I've attended throughout the period of this project, I've gained a fresher sort of perspective about things, and I've come to realize maybe how to properly approach to solve some of these problems and how to effectively apply them in a practical scenario. And employment and universal basic income were a significant part of the part of time that I've spent throughout this project, and that is what I want to talk about today. Before I delve deeper into what basically UBI means and how can we implement it, let's talk about the current economic scenario that we are observing from the last 2 or 3 decades around the world. We have seen this growing trend towards a capitalist dominant economic system, and that grows from this the kind of growth that the US has experienced in the last 2 or 3 decades, and the kind of life expectancy and levels of income that they have had for quite some time now. And a lot of countries have been attracted by that. They're trying to imitate the same amount of the same growth and economic development by shifting to a capitalist economic system. And this hasn't just been a trend for countries who were, partially capitalist before the US growth story. Even the recent scenario, we see countries who had economic system completely opposite of a capitalist economic system. They've tried to convert their current economic system to suit the needs of market better and to basically reach to a more capitalist market economy. And that has been the growing trend like throughout the world right now. And because of that, it becomes very important to realize challenges that capitalism brings with itself, right? So, and one of the major challenges that I personally think should be dealt with, and is one of the top most priority when it comes to dealing with the challenges of capitalism, is the growing disparity between the rich and the poor income groups. Because we see that, and it boils down to traditional outlook of economy, that the rich people are getting richer and the poor people are getting poorer, and that has been the case for the last 2 or 3 decades. Capitalism had this sort of inherent system to deal with this, wherein if money comes into the system, it goes down this funnel of various income levels, wherein the highest income group receive it first, and then it trickles down to lower income groups as well, which ensures that everyone in the economic system sort of gets the opportunity to reap the benefits of that amount of that sum of money. But that hasn't been the case, at least in practical scenario for capitalism, at least in the last 3 or 4 decades. We have seen a growing disparity between the lower and the higher income groups. We've seen a significant amount of decrement in the income levels of the lower income groups. We've seen a decrement in life expectancies of these groups, and obviously after the COVID-19 pandemic, unemployment rates are at an all-time high. And all of these challenges sort of point towards looking towards an alternate solution or an alternate structure that can be integrated into our current economic system to make it better, to make it more efficient, and to basically address some of the challenges that we are facing with capitalism. And universal basic income sort of comes as a more effective approach in terms of dealing with those challenges and addressing them at a wider scale. Universal basic income, those are 3 words with very specific meaning, that define how basically that policy functions. Universal means that everyone who is involved in that system is eligible for that payment. It basically ensures that if you are currently functioning in an economic system, you are eligible for a basic payment that the government is going to deposit in your bank account. And universality of things, again, when we talk about giving the same amount of money to everyone, a lot of obvious questions are going to arise. Why not just to the rich people? Why to the poor people as well? At a level where we analyze it from from the face value, it might seem that everyone is getting the same amount, but we need to understand that there are mechanisms and there are dynamics in sort of how, in the way UBI is going to be financed. These high income groups will have to pay more taxes. So, for example, if a person is getting, if a person from the higher income group is getting $10,000, he will have to pay a tax of $20,000 to finance UBI, and that sort of carries a redistributive property in terms of the funds that there are in the economic system. So that sort of redistributes the amount of money, which almost 90% of it is held by the higher income groups. It sort of redistributes it to the lower income groups as well, decreasing the overall disparity between the income groups. And it becomes very important to address this in a universal way, because it deals with the inefficiencies that are there with our current subsidies or benefit programs. Because right now there are a lot of subsidies in the India government benefit programs, but a lot of people do not know about these subsidies. They have very defined criteria for eligibility, and which basically creates inefficiencies in actually seeking the help of these subsidies for people, for which they are meant to be. So for transferring that $1,000 rupees issued from the India government, and for it to actually reach the beneficiary's account number, there is a lot of bank account. There's a lot of inefficiencies involved in that process. That accounts for corrupt government officers, ill-functioning infrastructure, and a lot of inefficiencies that are currently associated with this current system of subsidies and benefit programs. Universality of UBI sort of helps us deal with that, because now we don't have to think about the inefficiencies that might come with providing selective benefit programs, because now everyone's getting the same amount, and no amount of bureaucracy or inefficiencies go in determining who is eligible and who is not, and that means less paperwork and direct payments to the bank accounts of the beneficiaries. And the next term is basic. It basically ensures the basic survival and the basic needs of everyone who is getting that payment. Income means timely cash payments, and it obviously comes with defined intervals, whether it's monthly or yearly, but it is cash payments directly to the account of the beneficiaries, which again eliminates a lot of inefficiencies that are out there, subsidy or ration benefits that the government currently has. That said, now that we have a basic perspective about how UBI works, let's analyze what kind of challenges that does UBI help us in addressing. One of the major challenges that UBI helps with is the decreasing economic disparity now, because as I just explained that this whole system of universally giving the same amount to everyone involves a redistribution of wealth from the rich people or from the higher income groups to the lower income groups and to the middle income groups. That sort of ensures that the gap between these, the income gap between these income groups is decreasing with time, and that sort of ensures that the promise of capitalism that everyone is able to reap that benefit of a capitalist economy, which hasn't been the case, but UBI helps you to achieve that in a more efficient and a better way. The second most effective advantage of implementing UBI can be associated to employment. The employment scenario we see throughout the global economy, that the unemployment rates are at an all-time high. And considering that there are a lot of inefficiencies in the system as well, we see people who even are employed under disguised unemployment, and there are people being paid very less for what the work for the kind of work they are contributing for, and that sort of exploitative nature of workplaces, because it kind of gets easy for these workplaces to exploit their workers, because there aren't many opportunities because of the economic downturn. Now, UBI sort of provides you that freedom and that independence of choosing whether to stay with that exploitative workplace or to seek better employment opportunities. That can be employment opportunities even cross the borders, and that is just one of the options. You can seek higher education, you can seek entrepreneurial ventures, and that is very, very effective for a capitalist economy system, because everyone who is able to go out there and seek an alternate source of income, that means more consumption, that means more money in the economy system, and makes it more efficient and more prone for economic development. And that obviously comes with the benefit of everyone having the advantage and the freedom to choose what they want to work with. And the recent experiments that have been conducted so far with UBI have shown positive trends. Where people chose to go for higher education, chose to go for better employment opportunities, chose to develop their skills in order to get a better employment opportunities, instead of wasting that amount of money on maybe alcohol or drug use, right? So this has been proven with the with the recent behavioral experiments that we have seen so far with UBI, and the results have been extremely positive. One of the major challenges that come with implementing UBI is will everyone use it in a good way, or effectively? So a lot of things can be implemented just to sort of have a check on that whether it is being implemented or not. We can pause payments of families that who have ineffectively used that payment and have gone down the wrong path, and even if they continue to do so, their payments can be terminated itself, so that they realize the value of the payments that they're initially receiving. So all of these corrective measures can be implemented to address those challenges, but UBI does seem to be one of the most effective and obvious solution to the ills of our economic system right now, and specifically in a capitalist dominated economic system. And that sort of grows very even more important after the COVID-19 pandemic, where the proportions at which these problems are affecting the livelihood of people have gone have increased significantly. And it is high time now that we address these challenges and try and seek effective and actually implementable solutions to address these problems, whether to implement it in a hybrid model with the existing subsidiaries, or with the existing subsidies and benefit programs. That still remains to be answered, and that depends on how can we finance them both simultaneously. But implementing UBI would definitely help us in working at the problem from a grassroots level, and where we're introducing efficient sort of systems that help the people for whom these policies are targeted for. And that is why I think that UBI should be considered a very viable and practical option to pursue in order to address the challenges that we are facing with the capitalist economic system right now. That was it from my side. Thank you for listening.